So let's create a database, and to do that we'll use the Package Manager console. So let's go to Tools, NuGet Package Manager, and here is Package Manager console. So here is a command line, and to create a database is fairly simple. All we need to do is really create a migration. The syntax for it is add-migration and then space, and you name this migration because you can have multiple migrations. In fact, we will have more than one migrations in this one project as well. So this one is a first migration. I'll call it initial. That is a common name for the first migration. And just press enter. And you can see I'm getting an error. It says the add migration term is not recognized. And that's because even though we install the entity framework, we also need to install entity framework tools that will allow us to create these migrations using the NuGet Package Manager console. I just wanted to show you because this is a common error and people get confused. Why wouldn't it be recognized when you actually installed entity framework? Well, that's why you also need to install Microsoft Entity Framework Core tools. So let's go to Tools, NuGet Package Manager, and Manage NuGet Packages for Solution. And we're going to browse to Microsoft.EntityFramework.Core. And we want to go to Tools. And here it is, Microsoft Entity Framework Core Tools. And you can see it says this contains the tools for the NuGet Package Manager console in Visual Studio. Currently, the stable version is 3.1.5, so I'm going to install it. I'm going to click OK and accept the licenses, and it was installed. When we go to our installed over here, you can see we have the tools as well as the SQL Server installed. So we can close the NuGets and go back to Tools, NuGet Package Manager console, and let's try again. And you can type it again, or you can use the arrows up and down to use the commands that you typed previously. So when you press the arrow up, the latest command that you typed is going to be entered. So that's the add migration initial. Let's press enter, and you can see build succeeded and the migration was created. You can see it was created because in our migration folder we now have the initial migration. So let's quickly have a look what it created for us, and you can see it basically creates the database. It creates the name songs for a table, and it creates the fields in it. We have the song ID, which as you can see is identity, meaning this is gonna be created as an identity by the entity framework. And then we have the properties for the name, year, and rating. And note that they are nullable. The name is nullable because it's a string, so that's by default nullable. And year and rating are nullable because we made them so. And like I mentioned before, song ID is nullable because it's an identity. That's our ID. And down here we have our migration builder that inserts the data that we created. So we have our table song, and it will have the columns song ID, name, rating, and year. And here are the values that we are inserting for the first song. So the ID is 1, then it's the Master of Puppets, rating is 5, and the year is 1980. And then we have the second song for the Wonderwall and the third song for Lose Yourself. So this is what's gonna create a database and populate it with these 3 songs. And down here we have another method called down, and this one will be to drop the songs table. So if there's something wrong, we can use down method to remove the table. So we added the migration, but we did not create a database yet. But we are ready now. So let's go back to our console. And to create the database, you may think it's the create database command, but it's actually update-database. And there is no name for this. This simply will run the migration and create the database and populate it with the data we specified. So let's press enter. And you can see we are done. Everything was created. So let's have a look at the database. Let's go to SQL Server Object Explorer, and I'm going to go to my local DB, And here is songs database. That's the one we just created. When I open it, there's the tables, and here is our table songs. I'm going to right click it and click View Data. And here are the 3 songs that we populated the database with, or the table with. So here's the song Master of Puppets, Wonderwall, and Lose Yourself. So with this, our database is created. So with our table for the songs, we have some sample data that we can start retrieving, and we can also start adding, editing, and deleting data from this table as well. And to do that, we need to create, obviously, the actions for this. So let's start working on our home controller next.